recently in an interview, Benedict Cumberbatch just revealed that he's not going to be in Avengers Doomsday, but he'll play a big part in Secret Wars. What could this possibly mean for the direction they're taking Doomsday? At first, when I saw this headline and read the interview, I was a little confused. I saw that Benedict Cumberbatch reveals he won't be in Doomsday, and I'm thinking, did Marvel spend too much money trying to get the Russo brothers and RDJ back? Like, what in the world? Doctor Strange is like the face of the MCU right now, kind of him and Spider-Man. Like, he's one of the big characters going into an Avengers lineup movie. So it really caught me off guard when I first read that. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized Doctor Strange not being in this movie is actually a really great thing. At least it could be. All right, in order for me to really unpack why I think that Benedict Cumberbatch's absence is a positive thing for Avengers Doomsday, we kind of need to go back and understand what Kang Dynasty, before it became Doomsday, what that was originally going to be. And so Benedict Cumberbatch, he kind of alluded to it in his interview, but Jonathan Majors and all the issues with that really started unraveling Kang Dynasty and Kang as a character, right? It wasn't just that, it was kind of lack or lukewarm reception to the character as a whole. And if this is what you're trying to build to be your next Thanos, like, you want fans to anticipate it and be excited. And while I was a fan of Jonathan Majors as Kang, I know general audiences weren't as invested into that. And so all that started this journey of moving and shifting off of the Kang storyline into something else. And we know that because they're building to this, they're wanting Kang Dynasty Secret Wars to be as big, if not trying to overcome the hype of Infinity War Endgame, right? And that's a daunting task because, man, if you just remember sitting there and waiting for those movies, all of the theory videos, all of the hype, all of the waiting for the pre-sale tickets to drop, going to the theater, discussion post-Infinity War, how it affects Endgame, all the theory, right? Like, that was just an unreal level of hype that I've never even experienced before in my life since then or up until that point. And trying to recapture that, like, just pivot and doing that with a new set of characters, right? Like, your main characters that you've invested all this time in, you're now having to shift and it's a new villain, all this stuff, like trying to recapture that hype, trying to go just as big as that, if not bigger, is kind of an unrealistic task the more that you think about it, right? And so knowing that, I think that Benedict Cumberbatch taking a step back could reveal something about Doomsday that makes me really excited about it. Because before, when it was Kang Dynasty, it's like, let's get all of our characters into one big thing, and we're going to do cameos, and it's going to be as many actors as possible, and it's going to be big, just like Infinity War. But I think it's really unrealistic to recreate Infinity War, to recreate Endgame. It's dang near impossible, especially with what Marvel's track record is at right now, right? Like, a lot of misses. It was a lot of oversaturation leading into Infinity War Endgame. It wasn't like that. Like, Marvel movies were an event. People were waiting for those. The general audience was pretty invested in those movies, right? And it's just not the case anymore. And so trying to make it this massive film, I think would have just left everyone disappointed because they're expecting another Infinity War and another Endgame, and you can't help but disappoint when expectations are that high and you don't have Captain America, Thor, Iron Man all together, right? Like, that's a little unrealistic. And so what this reveals to me is Doctor Strange is not in this movie. They're not going for every single character they can get, all of the Avengers, all of the MCU, all together, one big hype film. It's not looking like that. To me, this could mean, because we know that Tom Holland is rumored to be the lead in this movie. Spider-Man is the main character. We know that Chris Evans is returning, and obviously we know RDJ is coming back as Doctor Doom. And I think that we have an opportunity to see, to really, what I loved about Infinity War is that it defied everyone's expectations. I remember going into the theater expecting, oh yeah, this is going to be a send-off for our main characters, and then Endgame is going to be where the new Avengers kind of take over. And I didn't expect Thanos to get all the Infinity Stones. It just blew my mind because it didn't do what I expected it to do. It was nonstop pacing, and it defied my expectations. And so if everyone's kind of going in massive, huge, like big spectacles and boom, boom, boom action all the time and all the characters you ever see, but then we actually see almost like a really grounded take, like a character-centered movie. It's a somewhat small lineup, right? Tom Holland's the face, Spider-Man is the lead, with just a few other characters, probably Sam Wilson in there. And it's about them facing evil counterparts like a Captain Hydra and Doctor Doom, RDJ, and things like that from the multiverse. They're coming in, and it's a really grounded take about how seeing some of their best friends and their mentors now, like it's their face, but it's a different person, and they're fighting against them, different ideals, and seeing how that affects these characters. That would be amazing. That would defy all expectations, right? Like, you bring in the Avengers that have personal connections, Sam Wilson to Steve Rogers, Spider-Man to Iron Man, things like that, have personal connections to evil counterparts of the characters we know and love, and seeing them navigate fighting them and dealing with seeing them again, even though some of them have died or have moved on, whatever. That would just make for a really great story. And you're no longer having to compete with the hype of Infinity War and the build-up for that, because it's not going for that. It would defy expectations, and it would just be a really solid misdirect, a satisfying misdirect that I think Benedict Cumberbatch's absence kind of highlights and shows, and that really excites me. So, what do you think? Do you think that this is a good theory? Would you like to see this theory come true? Or are you like, Logan, I want another big event film. I don't care if it can't meet Infinity War hype. Try. Just try. Make it as big as possible. Let me know in the comments. And as always, Dooskies homies.